Good day, my name is Joe Gerba. Today, I'm here with my wife Shelby, and we were challenged by Dads and Dice to answer 20 questions from Jenna Rose, which is about the content creators and what actually got us into the hobby. So, let's get started. What's your name, age, and location? Well, as you guys know, my name is Joe, and I live in Oklahoma City.
And I'm Shelby. I'm 32, and we live together in Oklahoma City.
What was your favorite childhood board game?
So growing up, I played a lot of board games with my family. We were really into Mousetrap. I remember that one a lot. And like Trouble and Sorry, you know, those little ones. But our big one was every once in a while we would play Monopoly as a family. And I remember telling you that our games would be like multiple days. My dad would be just a ruthless landlord in Monopoly. It was terrible. And we would just set up the game and have it out on the table, and everybody would kind of hover over the table after we decided to stop for the night to make sure no one was taking money from the bank. But those were some really good memories. Monopoly, I would say, is probably the biggest one from when I was growing up.
And my favorite childhood board game was this game called Battle Masters. So I played in daycare, and at the time I had no idea really what some of these board games were, but this game is played on the floor, and you just move around some of these trays by just drawing cards. Whatever card is drawn is the person who does the action. You roll dice, and as a child and hanging out with my best buds on the floor, man, it was just a good time as a board game. When did you really get into the board game hobby?
So I didn't really get into it until we started dating. I remember probably the first one was after you told me that you could beat me in Monopoly in 45 minutes. So we went to Target, got that, and I didn't believe him, but he did indeed beat me in Monopoly in 45 minutes. So I think that was the last time that we played. But I didn't really realize it at the time, but for Valentine's Day one year, Joe got me this Hunger Games board game, and we had a lot of fun with it, but I don't think I really realized that he was trying to introduce me into the hobby until a couple years down the road. I was like, oh, he was trying to get me to kind of play games with him, starting with that one. So I would say the Hunger Games, I guess, as kind of the first introductory one back in 2013, 2014 maybe.
Yeah, so we've been in the hobby about 8 years, at least the really modern board games. Dads and Dice shared a good story with them. I really got into the hobby with kind of the Heroescape way back in college, 15, 16 years ago. But really the Hunger Games, and then our first kind of big board game was Fresco, and I really did enjoy that game. And then once we got that into our collection, it just it expanded from there. What was the first game you purchased? Do you still own that game?
So I would say the first game, Joe does the majority of the buying of our games, and then, backing the Kickstarters and stuff like that. But I remember that the first game I really asked him to buy me was Wingspan, and we definitely still have Wingspan. I just thought it was a really pretty game, and I liked the theme. I thought was pretty cool. So one Christmas a couple years ago, that's what I asked him to buy me Wingspan. But I think in the last year, I just bought Parks for us. I thought that was another theme one that I thought would be really cool. And that was, I think, honestly, the first official game that I said, I'm gonna buy this game for us.
Yeah, so those were the ones that Shelby, bought for us or wanted to buy for us. And like I said earlier, District 12 was the first one I bought, and then we moved right into Eldritch Horror and to Fresco. So those were the first games that I bought for us, and that, like I said, 8 years ago or so is when we started to grow into the hobby. Any other hobbies other than board games? So one of my hobbies, actually, I like to play a lot of Warhammer. I've played Warhammer Games Workshop miniatures for a while, and I like to paint as well. So I've been in that hobby, over 20 years. That's just something that's nice and relaxing to do. Also, I really enjoyed taking trips with my wife. We've been on a national park, kind of kick over the last couple years, and we've had a really good time doing that.
Yeah, and as Joe said, the traveling, and I also really enjoy reading. We have quite a few books here in the house, filling up a bunch of shelves in addition to all the board games. But yeah, I like to read, like to travel, and yeah, just have a good time.
What was your breakthrough game?
I would say probably, aside from the Hunger Games, because like I said, at the time I didn't really know that was the breakthrough game. I would say Eldritch Horror, probably. You bought that one pretty early on when we started to really start collecting and get into it. And in hindsight, I mean, that's a pretty hefty game. I mean, that rule book is like 15 pages. So for that to be the first game, it's pretty big, but it's a cooperative game. And so we enjoyed playing that together.
I think the one that took us down the rabbit hole, or took me down the rabbit hole, is, the Hunger Games. I think we bought, at Target or something like that. But the real one that we started to get in, I think, was Fresco. And that really started the collection of, there's a lot more to this board game hobby. So, Fresco may not be my favorite game to play, but as far as breakthrough and get us into, the board game hobby, that it's just more than just Monopoly, Scrabble, I'd say it's Fresco for me. What's a theme that always draws you in?
So I'm always going to choose the animal games. I hate to say the cuter games, but you know what I mean. The animals, any Stonemaier game, I feel like Wingspan, Viticulture, just the nice artwork, the nice components. That's what's going to draw me in first to start playing a game, to start looking into it.
And I like any game with crafting. I like to upgrade pieces. I like to upgrade cards. I like to, have resources to be able to use. So as far as theme, I'm not really sure. I do like some medieval stuff and some high fantasy, but I just really enjoy being able to craft and having, neat components to turn into other things. What's your favorite mechanism?
My favorite is worker placement. One of my top games is probably Lords of Waterdeep, and I just think that is the classic worker placement. It doesn't get much better than that, and I can always choose a worker placement over anything else.
And then, one of my favorite mechanisms is actually simultaneous play. And anytime that two people can do the same thing, at the same, time, or Shelby may be doing something and I can do something, so we reduce the downtime. Anything like Spirit Island, where the planning phase you can do together in cooperative games. Seven Wonders, where everybody chooses their cards at the same time and then passes them. Anytime you can really eliminate that downtime in the game, I really enjoy. What's a mechanism that you don't like or you aren't good at?
It's not that I don't like social deduction games, although it's not my favorite, but I also don't think I'm very good at them, to be honest with you. It's not one that I'm going to choose to play all the time. I don't mind, you're the one night werewolf, if you're at a house with a bunch of friends, like that's a good one to play. Or Deception, Murder in Hong Kong. I love that game. But for the most part, I'm not going to say social like I'm not going to say, ooh, this is what I want to play tonight, And
my least favorite mechanism is really any mechanism that feels like it can slow down the game. Anything that can, where somebody's turn takes so long that the other person forgets what they're about to do on their turn. Anything that just takes a high amount of the, just brain power for one person, the other person sitting there, just waiting. That's one of my least favorite mechanisms. So the less downtime, the more interaction in the game, the more I tend to like it. What are the newest games in your collection, and have we played them?
So the two newest we have Viticulture World, which is the cooperative expansion to Viticulture. It's out right now. And we've had a good time with that. I actually think it's been very difficult. Despite being able to play together, we lost one of the scenarios. So you win together, you lose together. It's pretty sad.
We've won two scenarios.
Yeah, we have. But so it's been fun. And then also Welcome to the Moon. We haven't opened that up yet, but
Yeah, I'm not usually the biggest roll and write, but this one looks pretty interesting. We like the Welcome To, and has kind of campaign mode. Really looking forward to getting that to the table soon. What's your favorite player count?
Well, we're board games for two, so I'm going to have to say 2 players is my favorite. And Joe's touched on this a couple of times. I just feel like with 2 players, there's really not going to be too much downtime. You always know that, well, I'm going to have the next turn, even if it is a longer turn for the other player. So I think I enjoy those. A particular favorite of mine is Seven Wonders Duel, and that's obviously just 2 players, and that's probably one of my favorite games of all time. So.
And I really like the 2-player games as well, obviously. You know, Shelby's not a fan of some of the war games, the super head-to-head games. However, you know, my buddies from Dads and Dice, either Devin or Paul, I like playing one-on-one games with them and can really, you know, battle. But even the cooperative games, you and I can work together, and we don't, you know, it doesn't take a gaggle of people to be able to do things on the board. But, you know, we like playing games with 3 and 4, of course, but our favorite player count is, of course, 2. What's your board game pet peeve?
So I think my biggest pet peeve is it's okay if I lose to Joe in a board game, but I just get really disappointed if I think that I played the best game I could have possibly played and I still lose. Like, I get it, there might be times when it's like, oh, I could have done this, I should have done this, I didn't optimize my turn, and it's like, well, I deserved it then. But man, there were times in like Arc Nova or Terraforming Mars where I feel like there was nothing more that I could do, and I still fell short.
That's fair. My biggest pet peeve is having to tell people at the table it's their turn. You know, is we're going around the table, say we're playing a 4, and I have to say, oh, it's your turn. Okay, you go. Okay, there you go. You know, kind of along the lines of paying attention, but I don't like having to be the quarterback at the table because it can get kind of, you know, just a little bit exhausting, you know, being the rules person and telling people it's their turn. What player color do you use most often?
So I'm a pink and purple kind of girl. I go after those colors. As you can see on the viticulture right now, I'm actively playing purple. So.
And I really like all the colors, but I would say my go-to is red. So, and it works well with Dads and Dice because neither of them likes red, and it works well with my wife because she hates red. So, do you open and punch a game right away, or do you wait to play it for the first time?
I think we open and punch simultaneously. I feel like usually Joe kind of sifts through the rule book and I'm sitting there punching away.
Yeah, we've done a couple unboxings over the last couple weeks. However, I usually just like to have everything punched out instead of punch out while somebody reads. So I'm usually too antsy and I want to punch everything out. Do you read the rule book or do you watch a how to play video?
I listen to Joe teaching me the rules. That's the big one. A couple months ago, I bought us New York Zoo because I thought it looked pretty cute. But, and so I did both. I read the rule book and I watched a video because that was like the first time that I taught Joe how to play a game. So I wanted to make sure that I was doing it 100% correctly. So I was a little paranoid with that, but usually I just listened.
And she did a great job, by the way. But most of the time I am a rule book reader. I don't like a whole lot of gotchas in games. I don't like to be like, oh, by the way, this can happen. Oh, by the way, this can happen. It can really ruin the game or ruin someone's plan. So I like to read the rules, and now explaining it is a little bit different story, but I'm a rule reader. What's your favorite snack to eat while playing board games?
So I feel like we're not too much of snackers necessarily when we play. Usually we've got, you know, a Sonic drink or drinking coffee or something in the morning if we're playing, but not too much in terms of food.
Yeah, usually we try to separate our food from our board games. However, you know, if we do, it'll be something that's not messy or anything. Have you ever been to a board game convention? If so, which ones?
I have not.
And I've been to BGG Spring a couple weeks ago now, had a great time and plan on going to, the BGG Con in Dallas in the fall. So looking forward to that. What is an unreleased game that you are most looking forward to?
So 100%, I backed a game a couple months ago called Dog Park on Kickstarter, and we get monthly updates, and so I think it's like projected to come out August, possibly September, sometime around there. So fingers crossed it's on track, but it looks really good. The artwork looks really neat, and that theme is right up my alley, so I'm really looking forward to that one.
And I would say just about any Kickstarter game is kind of one that I'm looking forward to, but with all the delays, it's been kind of tough to actually tell. But there's one game called Aeolus coming out within maybe hopefully within the year. That looks like a good time, and it looks like a good time with two. So we're looking forward to that. What's your favorite thing about the board game hobby?
So I just really enjoy kind of unplugging from everything and just playing games with my husband and our friends and just having a good time, enjoying the themes of games. Like I said, I appreciate a good thematic game, and sometimes if they're really good, you can really kind of set the tone and feel like you're there and really involved, and I just really like that.
And I'm in the same boat. There are a couple games that use the phone, but really being able to unplug and just something away from the computer. I work at the computer all day, so it's nice to be able just to play a game, really interact with somebody face to face. Been playing with Dads and Dice on Fridays quite a bit, and it's just a lot of fun. Anytime, my friend, Devin from Dads and Dice, I'll do any excuse I can to go down there, and we'll just be able to play games, because it's one of those things where, a video game or something like that, you don't get the fulfillment that you do with the other person, highly interaction. So, being able to play with my wife on the regular is great. It's awesome. We can set up these games on these tables and then keep them out for, a week or two. And it's just a lot of fun. And, if we have a few hours to spare, I ask her, hey, let's play this game. And we do it, and we have a good time. Are there other people you want to see do this tag? And we do have 3. We have Robert and Emma at Board Game Beginner. We have Gil and Lou at Board Geek Couple. And Tyler and Mackenzie at Those Broke Gamers. So we'd like to see you guys do this tag, and if you don't have a YouTube, that's fine. Just kind of post on your Instagram some of these answers. We picked some couples, we picked some duets just like us, or just some best friends to answer these, and we want to see what you guys have to say.
And we almost have 1,000 followers on Instagram, so that's been another fun thing about the board game community, is kind of getting more involved in that. So it's fun to see the tags.
Well, that's all we have for this video, and hope you guys enjoyed learning a little bit more about us, and until next time.